Honorable Chair of the session, Ambassador Pinakranjan Chakraborty, His Excellency Mr. Muhammad Shahriar Alam MP, Honorable Minister of State, Bangladesh Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Vikram Durai Swamy, High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh, distinguished panelists and guests. At the very outset, we express our profound appreciation and gratitude to the government and people of India for their unconditional support during our independence war in 1971. Bangladesh will celebrate its 50th Victory Day tomorrow and poised to mark its 50th anniversary in 2021. We pay homage to 3 million Bangladeshis who sacrificed their lives for achieving independence under the leadership of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. We stand perpetually indebted to 1,661 brave Indian soldiers who sacrificed their lives for our independence. We pay homage to their memories and pray for their departed souls. Bangladesh and India are two countries, but comprise a natural economic geography. The two countries possess a shared history, common borders, waters, culture, and heritage. Their emotional bonds stem from invaluable contributions of one nation for the birth and development of the other as a sovereign state. As a matter of principle, the two countries shall have no option but to build on a framework of mutual cooperation and shared responsibility. Bangladesh has been one of the fastest growing emerging economies in the world until 2019. The country's real economy expanded 5 times since 1991. The 5-year average economic growth rate accelerated from less than 4.2% in 1991 to 1995 to 7.9% in the last 5 years. As population growth rate persistently declined, the per capita GDP growth rate accelerated even faster than the economic growth rate. Over the last decade, Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has not only delivered an extraordinary episode of economic growth, her government has also produced broad-based gains in health, nutrition, education, infant mortality, and life expectancy. Since 2009, Bangladesh has reduced economic vulnerabilities across many critical areas. The country thus met all 3 criteria to be a developing country in 2018 and was set to graduate by 2024. When Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was successfully pursuing her Vision 2021, her government was first moving towards achieving a broader set of sustainable development goals by 2030. Then came the global coronavirus pandemic, together with government policies that essentially locked down modern life, businesses included. The world economy is still facing the risk of a prolonged recession. Bangladesh is no exception. COVID-19 threatened to reverse many of our critical developments of the last decade. Government of Bangladesh has been bold to address the initial phase of this unprecedented challenge. As early as March 2020, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina launched a series of monetary interventions in the form of targeted lending programs by the central bank. Collectively, those are worth now 15 billion US dollars. These schemes are separately designed for export-oriented business, large corporations, small and medium enterprises, agriculture, and professionals. These schemes were meant to inject huge liquidity to households and farms so that they can navigate COVID-induced disruptions and business uncertainties. I am happy to share with you Bangladesh economy is showing early symptoms of recovery. Factories have reopened, export production has resumed, workers returned to factory floors, life is returning to small businesses to a more normal condition. Many economic fears are seemingly averted. Many experts predicted an unsustainable current account imbalance that did not materialize. The current account deficit stood at a sustainable level. Foreign reserves at this moment stood at $41 billion. And it is further easing the liquidity in the financial system. Before the onslaught of COVID-19 pandemic in January 2020, the entire Bangladesh was preparing for observing the birth centenary of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And next year, as I said, Bangladesh will observe 50th anniversary of its independence. In her election manifesto in 2018, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina announced her big plan to transform Bangladesh into an upper middle income country by 2030. She envisioned that in order to do so, Bangladesh would require its investment GDP ratio to go up by 10 percentage points over the next decade. I strongly believe India can be a partner of Bangladesh to this end. Traditionally, India and Bangladesh dealt with issues such as security and cross-border terrorism, defense cooperation, energy cooperation, bilateral and sub-regional connectivity, water sharing, international trade and financial cooperation, and people-to-people contact. The two countries made massive progress in many of these areas. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, in her second term in 2009, eliminated every element of cross-border terrorism emanating from Bangladesh. This is her principle and unequivocal position not to allow Bangladesh and its territory to be used against any country, particularly India. Naturally, Bangladesh shall expect reciprocity from her all neighbors on this account. The coordinated border management plan, the integrated border checkpost are bilateral institutional mechanisms that will further augment this bilateral security apparatus. Secondly, India and Bangladesh are deeply engaged in energy cooperation. The two countries depend their international cooperation for developing thermal, hydroelectric, solar, gas, and nuclear energy. India is providing technical assistance for the construction of 2,400 megawatt Rupur nuclear power plant. Another coal-based power plant, namely Moitri Super Thermal Power Project of 1,320 megawatt at Rampal, Bagarat, is in progress. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, while visiting India in 2017, signed agreements and memorandums worth 13 billion US dollars for the development of power energy sector in Bangladesh. At sub-regional level, India and Bangladesh, they are working together. Recently, a trilateral investment agreement to build 1,125 megawatt hydropower plant in Bhutan was signed and it is envisaged. Thirdly, Bangladesh and India have achieved remarkable progress in building rail, road, and maritime connectivity. This is an area where two countries must invest heavily and judiciously so that the flow of goods and people evolves to be seamless. It will lead to capital flows across borders. The traditional way of defining cross-border connectivity relied on government funding. I will argue that an opening can be planned for private corporate sector in both the countries. Podda Multipurpose Bridge, which is the flagship infrastructure project of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and which is domestically financed, is an example of potential bilateral cooperation for building connectivity projects in future. India and Bangladesh share waters across 54 common rivers, and in the Bay of Bengal, uh, the maritime area. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina signed the Ganges Water Sharing Agreement with India in her first term. The Permanent Court of Arbitration of the United Nations also resolved the maritime boundary dispute between India and Bangladesh in 2014. The Ganges Barrage project is another mega project where India and Bangladesh can cooperate and shall cooperate, I do believe. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is very more committed to resolving other pending water disputes with India. Indian Union government has also showed enormous interest to this end. We really need to expedite this negotiation and get over this roadblock. Finally, as our state minister pointed out, the mass killing of Rohingya people by Myanmar's armed forces and the resultant influx of more than 700,000 Rohingyas into Bangladesh since August 2017 has stopped our bilateral agenda. The Rohingya crisis is a humanitarian crisis of catastrophic proportion, and the role of Bangladesh has been exactly what India did to millions of Bengalis who were displaced by brutal Pakistani regime in 1971. Bangladesh doesn't have any bilateral problems with Myanmar, and they enjoy very friendly relations. Their long-standing maritime dispute was even peacefully resolved in 2012 by the International Tribunal for Laws of the Seas. The issue of Myanmar's Rohingya problem is three-dimensional. It includes nationality and discrimination, which focuses exclusively on Myanmar. Second, statelessness and displacement, which brings Myanmar neighboring countries, including Bangladesh. And third, the doctrine of responsibility to protect, which draws international community to intervene. As time is short, we expect India as a global power with common borders with Myanmar and Bangladesh, having good relations with both the nations, shall collaborate with the world community so that Rohingyas can return and rehabilitate in their own land, Rakhine, Myanmar. Thank you for your patient hearing. Thank you very much.